Welcome to the Next Gen Podcast. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Bryson Wright and Alex Winton. They got next, so let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into the Next Gen Podcast here on the Bluff City Media Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Bryson Wright, and I'm joined by my co-host, Alex Winton. And we got a lot of stuff to get to today with, NBA Finals finally being set. Got some new news, some draft news, some Gigi Jackson news, a lot of stuff to get into. But the first thing we're going to start is, like I said, we're going to start with the NBA Finals officially being set with the Celtics and the Mavs. I know on the last episode we talked about it like it was basically already set, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but now that it's officially official, it's like we can really go into it. I wasn't really surprised at how it ended up. Like once both of them went up 3-0, I kind of expected the Celtics usually lose a game, but once they won game one was the game that they usually lose. Like that's the type of game they usually lose. Yeah. So once they won that, I was like, they're probably going to sweep. And once Halliburton was out, it was going to be tough for Indiana regardless. And then on the other side, I'll be honest, it really looked the Timberwolves just didn't want to get swept. Like, once the Timberwolves didn't get swept, they're like, all right, we good. Like,
yeah, we straight.
Like, that's really what it felt like in that game when watching that game. And Luka was on a different level. Like, Luka came out in that game 5 and was just – you could just tell, like, closeout game Luka is becoming a thing because this is something that we have now seen him do not only just against the Timberwolves this year, but he also did it against the Suns, like on their home court, where you go in and it's the first time it was a game 7, and now this time it's a game 5, but the other team backs against the wall, win or go home, and you just absolutely blow them out of their own gym. And Ant was frustrated, like you could tell he was frustrated. I know some of that audio stuff came out where he was talking about, like, I'm better than them, like, just give me the ball, like, all that. So it's like, we're going to see how that kind of goes into this offseason and see if any of that kind of stuff is going to carry over. I do think the Timberwolves are going to be in a fine position overall, but it's like they're going to have to start kind of evaluating what they really want to do around it. But that's more like offseason stuff. Going to the finals, this is a really interesting matchup because you could make the argument that the Mavs, I don't know if I'll say they have the 2 best players, but they have 2 out of the 3 best players in the series with Luka and Kyrie, right? Mm-hmm. You can argue about Tatum and Kyrie if you want to. I mean, obviously Tatum, like right now he's in his prime or whatever, but the way Kyrie's been playing, I mean, you can't discredit the way Kyrie's been playing. And the way that backcourt with Kyrie and Luka, the way that they've involved Derek Lively, who didn't miss a shot in the Western Conference Finals, which is like ridiculous to even think about. New NBA record, 16 for 16 as a rookie. Yeah, but it's like, dude, he like Derek Lively has the easiest job in the NBA. Like, not to discredit him, he's great at what he does as being like a rebounder, being a lob threat, offensive rebounds. But it's just like, Kyrie and Luka make it so easy for him, and the same for Daniel Gafford. Both of them, I thought, had great series. Even though it did seem like there is some, I know Derek Lively missed a game, and it really felt like the Timberwolves tried to take him out in Game 5, which I didn't like that.
That's crazy.
I was like, dang, like that was really crazy to me. But I'm really happy for him. Obviously, he had a lot of personal stuff going on with like his mom passing away and all that, and I think that was just an awesome storyline for him. PJ Washington had a great series, or not as much had a great series, but has had like a really good playoffs and has made his timely shots. And that's really all you can really ask from role players. And then it's like on the Boston side, I think it really comes down to like, is Porzingis going to be 100% healthy? Like if Porzingis is 100% healthy, I think they are no doubt the favorites. They're going to be the favorites regardless in terms of like who people are betting on and stuff. But I feel like with Porzingis, they're just such a well-oiled machine. And I think even though Al Horford is great, Al Horford is older. I mean, Al Horford has been in the league for 17, 16, some years now.
Yeah,
right?
Something like that.
So
it's like 06 or 07. No, 07. I think 07. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like having Kristaps and then having Al Horford off the bench. Like that's a really good rotation for like a playoff series. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's one of those where I mean I know I said this about a lot of series, but I mean it could legit go either way. I'm excited to see Kyrie back in Boston for Game 1.
Oh my god.
The atmosphere, like that's the thing I'm really excited about. The atmosphere is going to be insane.
They might boo. They might boo him like LeBron got booed when he first got back to Cleveland. I don't know what's going to happen.
Gonna be worse.
Yeah, it might be worse. That's what I'm saying. Like that level of boo. Every time he touched the ball, just booing. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, no, like that. It just because I mean we've already seen in the past when he was on the Nets and he went back to Boston. Kyrie, he's probably going to be bringing his sage and everything before the game like he did that last time. But like, yeah, but the Boston fans, they let Kyrie hear it every time he's back there. And I don't know, I haven't seen him play there since he's been on the Mavs. I'm sure he might have played there, but like I haven't seen him play at Boston since he's been on the Mavericks. I'm not sure if he has. I'd have to go back and look that up because I remember the last time I remember him playing in Boston, he was on the Nets, and that was the time he saged the court, and then he stepped on the logo, and that was the thing that kind of went viral. And Boston fans obviously didn't like that. But regardless of when the last time he was there, him being there for a finals game, it's just going to be an even crazier experience. Because you talked about LeBron going back to Cleveland. Obviously, that was huge. But that was still a regular season game. Could you imagine if that was in the playoffs? Like, not just the playoffs, the finals? Like, this is like, it is going to be ridiculous. I think the atmosphere is going to be insane. But if Dallas can get one of those first two, especially since the Celtics, like this is when it starts to get, I start to get worried that the Celtics are known to give up one of those first two. And whereas they could get away with that, I feel like with most of the teams they played in the East, I don't know if Dallas is going to let them get away with that.
Yeah, no, I don't know if Dallas is going to, like, they'll probably lock in. But to your point about the game, he did play, what was it, March 2nd. So they played one game after the trade deadline. Boston beat them 138-110. But the thing is, you can't really take much from that game anyway, because Derrick Jones Jr., I don't think he played only like 7 minutes. Now he's a full-time starter. And then Tim Hardaway played 20 minutes. So like teams are different. And that's probably like a couple weeks after trade deadline. Like Boston, for the most part, is the same. Like they didn't really change anything. But like, yeah, I mean, I think
Tillman.
Yeah. Listen, yeah, no, Tillman played great that game.
Tillman played in that game?
Yeah, he played 15 minutes in that game. He's actually good. And that's the thing. Some people, I know some Boston fans was talking about like Tillman being a guy that could play if Porzingis is not healthy. But I think ultimately, this series, like for them wrapping up the series, to go back to that, that game 5 that the Mavs had was basically that game 7 they had against Phoenix. Like Luka I think he had like 20 in the first quarter. And like literally after that, like they just never looked back. And it was so funny just watching this because I'm like, dang, they really going outside. Like the Wolves are going outside. But I mean, listen, look, like I knew again, like that's why we talked about it. History's never been made. Like when you go down 3-0, that's like a kiss of death, essentially. Like the series is over. Like there's a reason why it's usually over. It's hard to win 4 in a row. Like even the series before with that Minnesota was in where they played Denver and Denver beat them, I think 3 in a row. Like it's very hard to like do that. Like it's very hard to even get the 3, let alone 4. So yeah, no, I mean, obviously Boston took care of their series, but yeah, this is the series that most everybody kind of expected. And again, Adam Silver's probably happy because there's a lot of storylines here. Like you said, Kyrie's going back to Boston, KP's going back to Dallas. You got probably the two, in my opinion, the two in terms of younger stars. I think that Tatum and Luke are the best 2. And then you got 2 of the better co-stars and Kyrie and Jaylen Brown. Like you got, and I think Jason Kidd, he's trying to win a ring as a coach, or he won one as a player, but now it's a coach for the same team. Like you got all these storylines. Like, so this is going to be good for everybody involved for the most part. In terms of the series, again, like you said, I think the Porzingis thing is the biggest thing. It's not really about being 100% for me. It's more about like, can you be like 80, 85, like at least 80? You can't look like you're 60% healthy. But my thing is he's had a whole month off, so it's kind of like I think he's going to look fine. Like I've seen some clips. He looks okay. But again, that's just shooting around. Shooting around doesn't really, supplement for game reps. So, you wonder how his condition is going to be. You wonder how that's going to be for him. Not only him, but just like the Celtics in general, because they've had all them days off. Are they going to come out like a day school? Because I think that's the thing that everybody points at. It's like, okay, they haven't really been battle tested while the Mavs have. So they might be, the Mavs might come in locked in, and where, like you said, they might take a game. But then again, you also have to account for maybe Boston might become serious this time and be consistent for 48. Who knows? But I do expect it to be a good series, even if the series only goes to like 5 or like 5 games potentially. Because I think if Porzingis is healthy, I think Boston wins in like 5 or 6 pretty, I won't say comfortably, obviously, it's the finals. But I think just Porzingis is, like I said last week, he's the difference maker. Like, for what they do on both sides of the ball and for what they would do against Dallas, they need him to basically do that at a high level. And again, like you said, even if he doesn't play, they're probably still the favorites. But I would say the Mavs have a legit chance to win at that point, like to win the series in my eyes. Like, I think they could really win it because I think it's a lot different when you see, no disrespect to Al Horford, but it's a lot different when you're seeing Al Horford as the lone big, and whether you on offense or defense, like for the Mavericks versus you see Kristaps Porzingis. And now again, we've seen obviously Porzingis has had moments in the past where he hasn't been able to step up, but you also have to consider his roles different. Like, he's like the third option now, and sometimes maybe fourth. Like, so, and he's not scoring as much or has to do as much. Like, him just being on the floor alone will probably allow them to get mismatches and things of that nature. So yeah, it's going to be a fun series. I'm very interested to see how it goes. Again, I expect some really high level hoops because there's going to be adjustments made. Obviously, I'm ready for everything about it because I'm like, like you said, if Dallas does get one, how does Boston adjust to it? Because it also depends on how it happens. Is it because they have a hot shooting night, or is it because they actually found something and they actually kept attacking it? Like, because that could happen too, where you just go, Mavs don't miss, and then that happens sometimes. Because that's basically what happened to Boston in all their games that they lost, is that they got like blitzed by like a crazy shooting game. Now, granted, part of that was on them because they didn't guard as effectively, like, in closing out. But at the same time, like, teams were shooting over their head against Boston usually in those losses. If you go look at it, like, for the most part, in their like 2 or 3 losses they had, they basically were like, both of those teams, like, the team shot like 50%, 55% from the field and like 45 from 3, like, usually. And then the rest of the games, like, that's usually it regressed to the mean. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited regardless. Again, I mean, whoever wins is fine with me. Like, again, this is, like I said, the future's now. Oh man, I always say that because, like, literally, like, you're gonna have somebody new who hasn't win a championship. It doesn't matter who. Obviously, you got proven champions like Drew Holiday and Kyrie, but we're talking about, like, from younger stars. Obviously, it's either gonna be Luka or it's gonna be Tatum. That has
like, so I'll say that the person that wins Finals MVP is probably gonna be a first-time Finals MVP. Like, just 100, like, regardless of what side it is, because you would assume that if the Celtics win, it's going to be, Jason Tatum, maybe Jaylen Brown, somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then if the Mavs win, you're obviously looking at either Luka or Kyrie, which obviously, you're going to lean Luka because Luka just won Western Conference Finals MVP. But, I mean, Kyrie is the type of dude that could definitely just have one of those crazy series and end up being Finals MVP. And even though he has, like, won the championship as, like, a number 2, this could also solidify him as, like, obviously there have been times where he's been the number 1 option. Like, even when he went to Boston, I know he had injuries and stuff, and it didn't go quite as well as you would expect when he was a number 1 guy. But this will solidify himself as one of the best, second options ever.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like 100 if they win this, because now you have it where it's like, obviously being the second option to LeBron is one thing. And Luka's an awesome player. Not to say he's the same level as 2016 LeBron was right at this moment, but in terms of how good he is compared to the rest of the league, like, obviously he's one of the best players in the game right now. And he's going to be, obviously the top 75 already came out, but whenever the top 100 comes out,
top 100, yeah.
In 25 years, we know he's going to be on there. He's going to be on there. Like, he's a lock. He's a lock. We know that. So he's like that caliber of player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. So it's going to be interesting just to see, like, how that continues to go. And you could also make some arguments about them being, like, if they do end up winning this, like, maybe the best offensive backcourt we've seen. like at least in a while. Like
most skilled. I say I give him most skilled, like in terms of like shot creation and all that. Like I could give him that, like because I don't know if we've seen two shot creators at this level, this skilled like offensively.
Yeah, yes, no, because and that's what I said with like the bigs, like with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford having such an easy job because you have two people that can create for themselves or for others at any time. Whereas obviously Kyrie is going to be more of like a score first usually, just because Luka is the guy that is more of the initiator for other players. But we have seen games where Kyrie's gone out and had 6-7 assists as well. Like, and he especially when it comes to those lobs to Derek Lively, once he gets into the paint, like I've seen Kyrie pass up more open mid ranges than I've seen him do that in the past. And it's like sure. he might want to hit Derek Lively on the pocket pass or throw the lob to Daniel Gafford. And I think that getting those guys in rhythm so that at the end of the game, like when you need a bucket, you can go to those guys. I think he's gotten a lot better at that, and I think Luka does a good job of that too. And then on the Celtics side, like I said, I think Porzingis is going to be the X factor. Derek White, I think, is going to be a big factor as well because he's the type of dude where, not to say he's completely I don't want to say he's inconsistent because he's consistent on defense. But it's just like he's one of those dudes where a 30-point Derek White game can change the entire, just the entire way the series feels. You know what I mean? Because he's done that in the past. Not to say that you expect that from him every night, but I think he's the type of dude that is going to have one of those heaters that's going to change just the entire trajectory of the series. Like he's that type of player. So I think Derek White's going to be a big X factor. And then Drew Holiday, I think having Drew Holiday and Derek White and both of them, you're assuming that one of them is going to be on Kyrie, and then we'll see who they put on Luka. That's going to be an interesting question. I'd probably say put Drew on Luka, and then maybe put Derek White on Kyrie. But you could also, like, that's one thing about the Celtics is they're so versatile. If they want to, you could put Jaylen Brown. You could put Jaylen Brown on Luka or Kyrie if you wanted to. You could even try to put Tatum on him if you wanted to. Yeah. I would say they probably don't want to just because you saw what happened with Ant when they, like, you're asking them to be the number one option on offense and guard the best player. Like, I don't know if that's the best thing in the finals. And I think that's kind of what the Timberwolves kind of found out is that Ant got tired as the series went on. And he wasn't able to be as explosive on offense because he had to chase Kyrie around the whole time on defense. So I think having that versatility where if you need to, you can put a Derek White or a Drew Holiday, and you don't necessarily have to have Jason Tatum picking up Luka or Jaylen Brown picking up Kyrie. I think that's going to be a big part of this series too, is you have those role players that are like the star in your role players. And, that Boston starting five, and then you can throw in, like, Al Horford in there, too, for really, like, those six. Like,
yeah,
the chemistry that they have together is going to be really tough to beat that, especially on the offensive end. It feels like they usually make the right play just overall. They've had some of those stretches where they've had, like, dumb turnovers and stuff like that, like every team. But down the stretch of those games, even though they have been playing against subpar competition, I think they were by far the best team in the East. They were by far the best team in every series that they played, right? It was like not even close. But still, in those series down the stretch, I mean, there's still NBA players on the other side, right? And down the stretch of those games, they made the clutch plays, whether it was Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White making some clutch shots, like Al Horford having 7 threes. Like, they just have so many different guys that have been there before and have done it before that I do feel like that's why they're going to be the favorite. They're going to be the favorite going into it. But like I said, I think it could go either way. In terms of like, usually I'm not like cheering for anybody if the Grizzlies aren't in it. Like that's just how I am. I would say if I had to pick, I'd probably be leaning towards the Mavs just because like I like Kyrie. Like Kyrie's been one of my favorite players, so I'd like to see him like win it really. But besides that, I don't really have any kind of vested interest in either team besides that. So I'm just gonna be enjoying these games, man. I think it's gonna be a good series. And I think, like you said, Adam Silver should be happy that this is the series they got, because you got Boston. They've been the best team in the NBA all year in terms of their record. You kind of expected them to get out of the East regardless. So you got Boston on that side. They didn't, mess up on the way like they have in the past, or losing the Eastern Conference Finals when they shouldn't have, like they have. So it's like you got them, and then even though I in the West there are so many good teams, I think like in terms of how exciting the games will be, I think any of the top 4 or 5 teams in the West, if they had made it, would have made it an interesting series regardless. But I think having Luka and Kyrie, whereas like you have the young star that obviously is established, but can like get to the next level in terms of like his superstardom and in terms of his popularity. And then you also have Kyrie, who is like the established star, who has been the number 1 Nike athlete and has had the highest selling shoe, and has made one of the clutchest shots in NBA Finals history already, playing next to him. And I think just all those things coming together, it's gonna make for an interesting series. It's gonna make for a fun series. So I think basketball fans in general should just be happy with this being the finals. Like I don't think anybody can go to this, like, especially compared to like last season. No offense to the Miami Heat, but you knew going into the series that like the Nuggets were a much better team.
Yeah.
Right. Going into this series, I think you still say the Celtics are a better team overall, but it's not like the difference is not that much compared to what we have seen in the past. And just the parity in the NBA is still going. This is about to be the 6th year in a row with the new champion now.
Yeah. 6 years.
Just because of that. So 6th year in a row with a new champion. First time that's happened since like the 70s. So
I think it's either the first time it's happened since the 70s, or this is the longest time it's been for a while, or like I don't say longest. It might be longest ever. Usually, I think it usually goes like 5 years and then it stops. But yeah, either way, it's a long period. Like it's been a minute. It's been decades. So it's been kind of crazy. But I mean, this series is like you, to your point. I think like the legacy thing, that the real big thing about this, like legacy building, like, for Tatum and Luka, like in terms of what they could do for their legacies. Obviously, like again, Luka, he wins this ring. Some people, and wins Finals MVP. Some people call him the best player in the league. Tatum, if he wins it and wins Finals MVP, I don't think people call him best player in the league, but they'll probably say, oh, he's comfortably like a top 5 player, or he's staying, like whatever the case may be. It is going to be, something's going to happen along those lines. But this series is going to be so interesting. So many different dynamics. Again, like you said, with the X factors, like for Boston, it's really going to be down to Derek. Well, I said Porzingis, but really those, with what you're going to get from your guards offensively, because you're going to have to do so much defensively with the Mavericks, because they're going to be hard to guard. I think they will, to your point about the matchups, I think they will switch up the matchups. I think you can get away with Tatum guarding Luka this time, because the difference with Minnesota and the difference with Boston is that they got 4 guys that can actually guard on the perimeter, and not only guard, but they can dribble, pass, shoot, and create. Whereas with Minnesota, Ant was your main shot creator and your main defender, and then the next one was Mike Conley. No disrespect to Mike Conley, but there's a big drop off from Mike Conley to Anthony Edwards. Like, whereas on this team, I know Drew Holiday and Derek White don't seem like crazy creators, but I mean, Drew Holiday was literally all-star last year, averaging like 18, 19 points a night. It's just that he's now accepted a role of being like a 12, 13 points per game guy and being just a crazy defender. But I think people forget like he was that good offensively. So I think, if it's just a different thing. Whereas you got 2 all NBA defenders on your basically your backcourt is 2 all NBA defenders, versus with Ant, it's the only all NBA defender was Jaden McDaniels, and even McDaniels struggled because, again, he didn't really have the size. So like when you got 4 different guys, you can kind of move around and have them switch and play different coverages. It's just, you can try different things and give them different looks. Now, again, I'm not saying they're going to stop Luka. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the key for them is going to be to neutralize everybody else. Like, can we neutralize Kyrie? Can we have Kyrie look like he did in that OKC series where he wasn't really, where he played, where some of his, probably his worst basketball playoff wise? Can you neutralize PJ Washington? Can you neutralize that front court? Can you make sure they, instead of, I know you like you said, you want, like, Lively had a crazy run, but can you make them have to score one-on-one in the post, where instead of getting easy lob or getting easy lob dunks from the dunker spot, or just from, like you said, from pick and roll, can you make them do that? Can you force other guys to beat you? Because at the end of the day, if PJ Washington goes off for like 30 in the series, then you probably just weren't meant to be. Like, if PJ Washington has like a crazy Caleb Martin series like they did last year, it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, it's not meant to be. So I think that's really going to be the biggest thing for the Mavericks. I think for them, it's just going to be like, can we have Luka and Kyrie play to the best of their abilities while having what just happened in the last series? Like, it's just a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more variables that the Mavs, like, for them to go right and win, it has to go right for them. Whereas with the Celtics have a lot more room for error. Like, yeah, like if Tatum, I won't say Tatum's off, but Tatum has to play to his best. But like, they can afford for Tatum to be like 25 points a night instead of being like 35. Where I think Luka and Kyrie have to go for like 30 apiece, which they can, but they have to, like, almost every night to give themselves a chance. If Derek White's only, or not Derek White, PJ Washington's only give you like 10 points. If Derek Jones Jr. is only giving you 8 points. So it's going to be interesting. Again, I think Boston probably wins this. I said they feel like this feels like the year, but I'm not going to discredit the Mavs. Like, again, when you get to the finals, you don't discredit anybody. Like, obviously, like, even last year, like you said, even though the Miami Heat, nobody really expected them to win the series, you can't really discredit them. You know what I mean? Like, they won a game, and they won it in if I'm not saying, they won it in Denver. So that could happen easily this year. With this series, this team, I think, obviously better. The Mavs are better. They could win the series. So it's gonna be great. Like you said, this is great for the league, parity, all that. I'm here for it. I don't really have no better interest. Like I said, like, I'm just here for everybody to play well. I'm here for Tatum to play well, Luka to play well. I'm here for all the stars to play well. Regardless of outcome, let the stars play well. I just want them to play well. And I'll be cool. Like, I really have no interest in anybody winning. Like, I know, some people, Grizz fans related, they want, Xavier Tillman to win one. Like, listen, if he wins, cool. If you don't, cool. Like, it ain't gonna really affect me. I'm here for the stars because I know that's who's gonna be here for the next 10 years carrying the league. That's what I care about. How are the stars, how they gonna build their legacies up? Because, again, like, this is, like, I won't say the changing of the guard, but it kind of is. Like, this is kind of changing the guard.
It's definitely the change in the guard.
Yeah. So you want to see guys build their legacies. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think because I guess it really depends on where you have that cutoff. But like anybody that's like from Jokic and Giannis and younger, it's almost like that is the next generation that's kind of coming up. Obviously, Giannis and Jokic are a little bit older than these guys, but I still think they're going to be thrown in. Like, when you look back at it, they're going to be thrown into this same era with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're in their primes right now. Whereas it's the same way as, like, even though LeBron came into the league 7 years after Kobe came into the league, a lot of people still think about LeBron and Kobe's eras because they overlap so much, right? So that's kind of how it's going to be, I think, for this. Like, this is kind of going to be like the overlap. And it might be one of those things where you look back and be like, oh, wait, like, Luka played with Dirk? What? Like, stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
that tweet was going around. I remember that tweet
that tweet, which I really enjoyed that, just looking at, like, kind of the overlap and stuff like that. But that it might be a little bit of some of that stuff, like, when you look back at stuff like 10, 15 years from now where it doesn't seem like that. But I think, like, with Jokic and with Giannis, it's not going to be like one of those things. Like, you're going to remember, okay, these are the people they were competing against each other when they were in their primes, when they were at their best. Especially, like, the Celtics and the Bucks in past series and stuff like that. So I see all of that as kind of like the new guard. And then I think either Luka or Tatum, because, I mean, when you think about all those people, like, all the people that have multiple finals MVPs, whereas you're talking about KD, you're talking about LeBron, you're talking about Kawhi, like, all those guys that are still in the league that have that are all older. And none of the young, like, Giannis got one, Jokic got one, right? So whoever wins this, they're putting themselves firmly in that conversation of, like, who is going to be not necessarily the face of the league. I don't think there's ever going to be a face of the league, but you're putting yourself into the conversation of, like, we can become, like, the team of this decade. Because there hasn't been a team, like we said, there hasn't been a team in this decade before. Like, so far, there's been a different team that's won every year, right? So you win this one, you put yourself firmly into that conversation. And especially if it's Luka, for Luka's part, like there's a lot of people that already think he might be the best player in the league. And if he goes up there and has a great series and he's finals MVP and he's what, 25?
Yeah, 25. You know, 25, and then Tatum's 26. Like these are young
so
stars.
Like they have so much time to like add on to it as well. So I'm really excited. I'm just really excited for the finals. I think it's gonna be awesome. I think I will agree with you. I'll say that it'll probably be the Celtics. I think they're a better team overall, and kind of like you said, I think less things have to go their way for them to win the series, because we've seen in like the past series, even when they haven't played well, even when they have turned the ball over, they've still found they found ways to win. They've done that the whole season. So I think I will lean towards the Celtics. But like I said earlier, like I love to see Kyrie get one. I love to see Luka get one. Just for the the other side of it, obviously beating the Celtics and beating the team or being like the underdog team, but also like legacy build and stuff.
Yeah, the underdog team, because I think they are the second, fifth seed to make the finals. I think the other one was the Miami Heat like a couple years ago, and they obviously be if they won it. Don't fact check me on this, but they might be the lowest seeded champion to win it since the Houston Rockets with Hakeem. They might be. I have to check that, but I know a lot of basketball, so I'm pretty sure they'd be the lowest because usually historically top three seeds win. Whereas with the usually the fifth seed usually doesn't win. At worst, it's usually the fourth. Fifth seed, like I said, second team, yeah. So they'd be the lowest probably since Houston Rockets with the King, which was like the sixth seed. And that's crazy. They won 50 games too. Or Mavs won 50 games. But point is, like they would be an underdog. Like it's an outlier. Yeah, it's an outlier. It'd basically be an outlier if they won it. Which I mean, I'm here for it. But point is, it'd be history.
For sure, 100%. But yeah, no, like I said, I'm excited for the series. But moving on to some Grizzlies stuff. Obviously, this time there's not a ton of Grizzlies news coming out. We're gonna get into like some more draft stuff and stuff in the next couple weeks as well, as we get to like hear more stuff. But one thing that we did have was Paul George on his podcast kind of praised Gigi Jackson, talked about his year, being the 45th pick and how he played. And I just really thought that was really cool. I saw some people, I think I have to go back and remember who said it, but they're talking about Paul George is like, he's hyping Gigi up because it's like Gigi is like, could be like Paul George just because of like his frame and the way he plays and stuff like that. But just talking about how great of a player he is, being the youngest player in the NBA. I thought that was just really cool in general. Not to say that I think it goes any deeper than that, but I do think like we've heard from Gigi as he's kind of getting with some of these people. Like he's heard from Chris Middleton and he's heard from some other players, some other bigger players, and he's been trying to learn from those guys. I think a guy like Paul George would be awesome for him to kind of learn from. So I was really happy to see that. And I thought it was high praise, obviously called him one of the best young players in the league and everything like that. And obviously we agree with that. We can get into it a little bit. I know there's been some back and forth on whether or not Gigi is going to be the starter this year. So that's going to be a big conversation.
Agenda time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with it. It's either gonna. I think it should be him or Vince. It should be him or Vince.
Yes.
That's
where I'm at. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at.
Him or Vince. But I mean, you can't deny the way he's played. And with the draft and summer league only really being 40 days away now. I think we're gonna see the next level of Gigi. And we know he's been working out. He's been working with the team and everything like that as well. So it's gonna be scary next year, man. So I'm really excited for that, and I'm happy that I feel like multiple players, whether it was like LeBron talking about it during the season, Giannis, Chris Middleton reaching out to him, now Paul George, just like all of the older players, and they're starting they're realizing the talent that he has, and I think that's gonna be good for him. I think it's gonna be good for his confidence as well, especially being a 19-year-old. You're 19, Like, obviously, I'm 23. I grew up watching Paul George. Paul George says you're a great player. You 19 years old. You've been watching Paul George since he was like what 5 years old.
Yeah.
Like, man,
Indiana, Paul George.
Like Indiana Paul George, Gigi Jackson was like 6 or 7 years old watching that, right? When you really think about it, because he was basically born in like 04, 05. So the look on your face is so funny right now. So like he was really like, yeah. Go ahead, you can look it up because I'm like,
I'm looking it up because you might be, yeah. He was young either way. Yeah, he was like 10 because 2014, 15. Yeah, he's like 9. Bro, what? Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
No, it is crazy to think about. So I just think it's gonna be good for his confidence. That's really my thing. Not that he needs anymore. Like I think he does have the confidence of like a NBA star. Not to say that he's gonna be an all-star or whatever. I think he can be down the line, or he's gonna be like an all-star this year. But I think he's the type of player that can develop into that. And I'm just glad that people are noticing it, man. Like that, because that's what we've been saying the whole year, is that I didn't want people to discredit Gigi because of how bad the team was overall.
Yeah,
because it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah. He literally played the cards he was dealt. Like that's literally what happened. But yeah, no, I'm glad because I saw that. I didn't forget. I posted a clip. I forgot about that because I saw it late at night when I saw it because I was watching because I listened to the podcast and PG always does that little like PG like where he talks about a young player, and when he started it, he was like, I don't think he's getting enough credit, and then he started naming her Gigi. I'm like Gigi. Oh, and then I listen. I'm like, oh snap! He get him, like some real big praise. Usually, like I said, no disrespect to Memphis, but like you know how it is. Like media, even with players, they don't really talk about like the Grizzlies, even with Ja Morant. Like they'll get overlooked at certain points in conversations, even with younger players or younger cores. Like feels like everybody's forgot about the Grizzlies in some respects. Like you even got people the last couple of years, or not last couple of years, last couple of weeks talking about Ja or not talking about Ja or not talking about the trio as one of the top. Like they've forgotten about him because of injury riddled, chaotic season, right? So, you would think same with young players, like you said, you think people discredit Gigi's season because of him playing on a bad team. When in reality, like, yeah, the team was bad, but like they were hurt. He had more opportunity. He took advantage of opportunity. He grew, and not only that, he was consistent in his play regardless of his role. Now, obviously, he wasn't like all-star consistent. Like, I mean, he was, he had some bad games, but like for what, again, like even Paul George said it, like he had records where like and was producing more than Kobe. He said he's not going to be Kobe, but he was like, he at that same age, he was more productive or just as productive again. So, and not only him, but like I think we said a couple weeks ago last week when Gigi made like all rookie, like I think he's one of the younger guys to make all rookie since like a LeBron, since he was so young. Like, so like for him to do what he did was real big. And obviously, like you said, for players to see it is big time. And I think, not only players but like, I mean, we notice from just how the players seem to view him on our team, like Jaren, Ja, and Bane, they view him very high. Like I think Bane, when he made our rookie, he's one of them ones. We heard Jaren say he can be the best small forward in the league. We've heard Jobs, he talk high about Gigi. Like these guys are very high on him. And I think not only they understand that, but the front office and the coaching staff understand that. So not in terms of what we talk about, we talk about, I said agenda time. Like, yeah, it's agenda time. Like I've been saying start Gigi, but like, yeah, it's either start Gigi or Vince. But like, I say that not to just be fully on the agendas, but it's just logically, like you have a guy that this talented. You've been asking for a wing that's 6'9" that can make shots, that wants to be a two-way player. He said he wants to be a two-way player, and he wasn't a bad defender. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but people like to say like Gigi can't defend, and I'm just like, obviously rookies are going to be bad defensively, but he was better than most give him credit for in a bad year. So you would think with more talent and another year of experience, he would be a better defender. I'm not saying he's going to be all NBA defender, but he can be a good defender.
And this is the other thing, is that he has the frame and he has the athleticism.
Yes, exactly.
To be that, and I think he has the right mindset. Whereas,
yes,
the only thing that it's going to take for him to get better is just experience. Like the more he plays, he's going to naturally. if you continue to play at an NBA level and you are, locked in defensively, you are naturally going to get better at defense. And when
Yes.
you already have like the physical tools, like we saw this year with like some of the chase down blocks and the rim protection. Because I mean, dude is 6'9" and he's an uber athlete. Like he
Yes.
jump out of the gym, all of that. So when it comes to like playing passing lanes, he's gonna get smarter at that. When it comes to one-on-one defense, like it's gonna be hard for dudes to get past that man because he's quick on his feet and he's got long arms, like all that. So he is like the prototypical like wing defender you would want. Now, obviously, I don't think he's like Vince Williams in terms of how good he is on defense, or if he's maybe ever gonna be like he might not be the guy that guards the best player every night. He might not be that guy, but he's the guy that can do that if he has to. And I think that the fact that he did some of that at 19 already, where they did have him out there, they had him guarding Steph.
Yeah, I was gonna say they had him guarding Steph, SGA, Fox, SGA, all them guys
at 19. So you can't tell me that at 24, 23, whatever it is, he's not going to be able to guard some of the best players in the league.
Yeah, and naturally, again, like for him, I always say for him to be like to become a star, it's not even about the scoring for me. I think the scoring is gonna come easy. I think that's the thing that people keep talking about. Like he even said he wants an MPJ role. Like he said that in an interview. Like we talked about it weeks ago. Like he said he wants to be an MPJ role. Like he can do that. And my thing is like the offense is gonna be a lot easier for him with Jaren Bane out there on the floor together. Like I think people understand that. Like I keep saying this. We saw Zaire Williams and David Roddy and all these other guys that never had the same type of talent look good next to these guys. You think a guy that just averaged 15 points in his rookie season won't look good next to these guys? Like it'd be easy for him, because that's why I don't worry about the defense, because he's not going to be on the ball like that. You know what I mean? He's not going to be on the ball where he's creating a lot. He's going to be doing a lot of catch and shoot, cutting, working out of the corners, which is fine for him. And then if he needs to create in a pinch, he will. But that's fine for what this role is. And again, you're just talking about a guy, like I think he just needs to shore up the little stuff. Like yes, he needs to make pass a little bit better. Yeah, he needs to rebound a little bit better. But I think that's really the biggest thing for me, is if he can shore up all the little stuff, that's what makes you a star. It's like, can you do the impactful little things that while doing what makes you a star? Like that's what I go back to Tatum. That's what made Tatum such a big star in my eyes. Like for me, it's not about the scoring. Obviously, he can shoot the ball better a little bit this postseason, but it's the fact that he leads like the Celtics in. I think him and Tatum, or him and Luka, were the only guys, or like I think out of like in NBA history, out of like 7 guys to lead points, rebounds, and assists for the team, like all around game. So I'm not saying Gigi's going to become like some like 8 rebound guy and he's going to average 5 assists, but I'm saying if he can become at least good or average at those things, along with the scoring, which I know is going to get better, then you're talking about a guy that could be an all-star level player. And that's all you need. Like, again, listen, if it becomes more than that, then hey, let's talk about praise on Memphis, right? Like, let's just, let's try to do that. Like, let's be a little bit delusional. But like, yeah, for him to be like, it's not hard for me to say he can't be a starter, because my biggest thing is this. Last thing, 2 things, really. If he wasn't drafted at 45, I feel like this wouldn't be that big of a discussion about it, because again, we saw a guy like MPJ start by year 2 and he didn't have all the reps and stuff. But it's like, why delay it? Because again, that's my other point. Why delay it? He's going to probably start eventually. Like if he continues to be better, why not start him now when you can get him these reps? Because the biggest thing is this: you don't have to finish games with him. We've seen the Nuggets, who literally just had MPJ last year. They didn't finish some games with MPJ when he wasn't playing well. They finished with Bruce Brown or like Christian Brown. Like they didn't have to finish with him. If we could do the same thing, Gigi start, he's going, and if he's not playing as well as they think, or they feel like the matchup's not great, they can start, or they can finish with Vince, or they can finish with Smart. That's fine. You can do that. That works. Like, it's not going to hurt him, and it's not going to hurt the team. I think his shot making and his size, I think the Grizzlies need to be as big as possible on the starting 5. I think your smallest player should be basically Ja, essentially. You want as much shot making and versatility with size on the floor. And I think Gigi presents that for this team. And again, we've been asking for a wing like this. Now we're talking about, oh, he can't start. No, like, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense in my head. That doesn't. And I think the front office and the coaching staff see this too. Like, now again, they're not going to say it outright because he is 19. You don't want to give him, a big head. But I'm pretty sure they're like, okay, if he comes in and he's locked in, like you said, summer league, or training camp, I think he has a good chance to start. Like they won't say it right away, but I think they see this too. They're like, okay, we got us one. So I'm ready. I'm excited to see how it plays out again. Especially summer league because that's what we're like. What, a month out, or almost month and a half, something like that.
That's what I said earlier. Like 40 days.
Yeah, 40 days. Yeah, so look, it'll be here before you know. So I'm ready to see what he's improved on in a short amount of time because he improved. He improved so much in a short time span that I didn't expect. Now he got an off season with it. Like I can only see how much he's gonna look different in July. Like I'm ready because he might look like crazy. Like I don't know what he's gonna look like, and I mean that in a good way. Like I don't know what he's gonna do. He might average like 30, and he might put up like 35 in game one, and then we're gonna be like, man, we got the best wing under like 22. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna come in here and say something.
And I do think since when he goes to summer league, like so the first time he went to summer league, it was obvious that he was playing a step up in competition from college, right? Because obviously it's a step up. And now he's going to be going back to summer league, and it's going to be a step down. And I think we're going to be able to see him do like even more than he did. I mean, we saw him 40 points in the NBA game, right? Playing against, the best players in the world. I think going to summer league where he's playing against other young players and other guys trying to make rosters and stuff like that. Obviously, he not that he's trying to make the roster, but playing against guys like that, he's going to stand out. Because even last year he had those games where he stood out. Like this year, I think it's going to be the year where he stands out from everybody else. Like, as in if he plays all the games, he could be like summer league MVP. Like if he plays all the games, like I think that is the level that you could see from him. Especially because, I mean, we know he's the type of dude that he's going to be locked in the weight room, in the gym. He's still working out with the team. And when at his age, it's like the development that he's going to have because of how young he is and how many reps he's getting at this age. It's the same thing that I always say with Jaren. It's like you're going to look up and Gigi Jackson's going to be in year 5 or 6 and he's going to be 23.
Yep.
And it's just and it's gonna be throwing people off. Like the whole thing where they were talking about like Steven Adams isn't 30 yet, like a couple years ago. That's how it's gonna be. Like they're gonna be like, wait, Gigi Jackson only 28? He's been in the league 10 years. It's gonna be like crazy stuff. And it's just like he's gonna have so much time to develop. So I'm really excited to see what he does in summer league. And obviously the other thing about going into summer league, I wanted to get a little bit of the draft. We're going to get further into the draft later. But in that summer league, we know that there's going to be at least one rookie playing with him. Now, the biggest question is going to be, is it going to be the 39th pick and no other rookie? Is it going to be, like, because that's a possibility. Is it going to be the 9th pick and the 39th pick? Or is it going to be like the 20th pick? Right, those
or the 57th, I think, or 50, whatever. 50 pick,
or 57.
Because
they do have 2 second-round picks as well. And with the way that they've been drafting the second round, you cannot just those are not throwaway picks. Yeah, because even Tariq Biberovic, right, is over in the EuroLeague cooking.
He's cooking,
right? Cooking. I saw him the other day, and I was like, wait, he said he made like 5 threes. I was like, 5 threes? Wait, hold on. Maybe Zach Kleiman might have known something we didn't know last year. Hold up. So I'm excited. Look, I'm excited for him to come back. Come on back for summer league.
Yeah, come over here.
Look, come on back. Bring him over from the EuroLeague. We'll see that. But so there's been a lot of intel coming out talking about if the Grizzlies are going to trade that pick. And I'm gonna keep the take I've had since we knew they were getting a lottery pick, since February, right? I've been like, do not trade that 9th pick unless you know for a fact you are getting like a starter level player in return, like somebody who is going to start on your team. Like when all this stuff came out, I saw people talking about like some John Collins. Man, what are we talking about? This man said John Collins. No. We're not trading the 9th pick for John Collins, man. I almost had to block somebody on Twitter because of this, man. I was like, there's no way You talking about we gonna trade the night? Like, no. If it's Jared Allen, okay, I'm listening at least, because then you can also trade back into the first round as well while you're doing that. If it's even like a sign and trade with a Isaiah Hartenstein, even I'm not saying I'd want to do it, but that's a dude
I want to do it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, he's gonna start, and you've seen him start in the playoffs and be successful on a team. Whereas
and they fit, and they fit.
And he fits, and that's what I'm thinking. So it's like it's got to be the right person, and because you know how it is whenever all this stuff came out. Oh my gosh, the quotes, the trades that were in there. Like I said, the John Collins one was the one that really stood out to me. That I was like, dude, come on now. Like, what are we doing? what are we doing, man? Like, let's be serious. Throwing out, look, Luke Kennard in the 9th pick for John. I was like, what? Come on, man. That was the one that really stood out to me. But like, if you look in the quotes of that tweet, man, there's just some crazy trades. So it's got to be for the right player. But honestly, for me, I'm fine with them just picking at 9. I'm fine with them picking at 9 especially if they can get like another wing. Or if they do decide to trade up for a Klingon, I'm okay with that. Or if they trade back and they want to get a Deron Holmes, or they want to get a Khalil Ware, or they want to even get a Zach Edey, even though, he's not my favorite player. But
not my favorite player neither.
He's not my favorite player. But it's like, hey, if that's the route you're going to go and you're going to trade back and you're going to get more value as well, I'm more okay with that than I am. Like, I would not want to pick him at 9. I'll say that. But if you trade back and get him, okay. Because it's, it can be kind of like an upside swing kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because, if he turns out to be dominant, shoot, that's great. I'm not saying that I think that's what he's going to be, but it's like you get him at 18, 19, and he turns out to be a dude that can go out there and get 10 boards a game or something like that. You know what I'm saying? If he turns to Zubac, like, okay, that's fine. We're not worried about it. I'm still leaning towards the Dalton Connect, Ron Holland, those kind of guys if they do stay at 9. Just because I do think like Klingon's gonna go earlier than that. We'll see. I know that after the draft combine, there's gonna be there's been some movement on some guys and stuff like that. But those are still gonna be the top 2 guys that I'm looking at. And in that mock draft where they did say the Grizzlies have been looking to trade the pick, the guy that they mocked was Dalton Connect. And I don't want to say that Dalton Connect – I don't think Dalton Connect is better. He might not be better than Luke Kennard right now, but in terms of how much you're going to, pay for him, if you do decide that you're not going to pick up the team option and you decide you're going to pick up that option, you're going to trade him, right? That is a guy that you can bring in to replace him in the lineup. And then even though he's not going to be – he's not going to come out of college and be a 43, 44% shooter from 3. But if he's going to be 38, 37, 38%, plus he can do more with the ball in his hands. He can drive to the basket. He's taller, so he's going to be a better defender. Even though he rebounds better. So, he does a lot of other stuff besides shooting, whereas Luke is like a specialist, right? If you got Luke Kennard, you know what he's doing, right? Whereas Dalton, he's going to be a shooter, and he can replace and he can help the shooting. And I do think that he's going to be a high percentage shooter because when you look at the way he played in college, it was like he's seeing double, triple teams sometimes. He's not going to see that in the NBA. So I do think, he's going to be a good shooter, but I think he does a lot of other stuff. And then Ron Holland, he's upside swing. Like I said, he's the type of dude that can become another really good player. And I know you said it in the past. I'm not the type of person that's going to say the Grizzlies shouldn't draft another wing because they have Vincent GD. You can never have too many wings. But if they do go in the wing route, they're going to have to get a center another way. But you don't necessarily have to get a center in the draft. And because of the way that this works, is going to work this year, you might be able to trade back and get that center as well. And that's why I said a Khalil Ware, Deron Holmes, Zach Edey, somebody like that could be a possibility if they do trade back.
Yeah. The Grizzlies, I don't know what they're gonna do with the pick. Obviously, rumors literally last week have been like, okay, they want to trade it for Klingon. There's been buzz about the Grizzlies attempting to trade the 9th pick. And basically, that's basically been the whole thing. And again, like you said, trade rumors or people go crazy with the trades. John Collins one was funny. There's one about Mitchell Robinson, who I wanted as a Grizzly a while ago, but I've changed my mind further for a few reasons. Not, I think he's still good, but like for what this team needs, and it wouldn't make sense anymore. But then I saw a trade. I don't think you saw it. I don't think you mentioned it. I think it was like Kennard 9 and like something else. And I was like, for Mitchell Robinson? Man, I was like, okay, if you did Luke and Mitchell Robinson, okay, cool. I wouldn't love it. But Luke and Mitchell straight up in like a second, okay, cool. But 9? Like 9?
Yeah. It's the 9th pick part.
I think
people are rating, because even though I understand people saying it's a weak draft or whatever,
yeah.
I think people are over exaggerating that part so that they think that you got to throw in the top 10 pick to get somebody. And I'm like,
a lottery pick.
Yeah, it's still a lottery pick, man. So you don't just throw that in for anybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, that's why like I've been saying I'd say you throw it in for like Jared Allen, which again, obviously, we'll talk about that later. But maybe there's been some reports about Grizzly interest in Jared Allen. Listen, hey, him and Bane got the same agent. I keep saying it. And I think shout out to my boy Chris Ingram who said this. I think his mom is also from Memphis, so again that plays a part. Like, or all those little tea leaves, like all that plays a factor. And then you see the trade, like, oh man, he got traded to Memphis. And then you hear all this stuff. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Same with the OG Anunoby stuff. When OG Anunoby got traded to New York, oh, his agent's cool with Leon Rose. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, like so like little stuff like that always matters. But like, yeah, in terms of the pick, I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know.
Okay, there's one more guy I didn't mention at 9 that I think has.
Oh, you talking about the draft?
Yeah. There's one other guy that I didn't mention, which I don't know if they would do it just because I don't know if they're gonna go guard. But if they did go guard, like if there's some trades made, whatever, they do go guard. I mean, Devin Carter from Providence, Anthony Carter.
Yeah. There were some reports about that.
Like, there's been some reports on him. I think obviously he's going as far as we know now, we don't know exactly what all is going on with the assistant coaches. There's supposed to be some moves going around, but as far as we know now, he's going to be on the staff. So he's like Devin Carter is going to get a workout, I'd say, at least if he hasn't already, even if it was a private workout, whatever. Like he's going to work out for the team, I'd assume, especially since he's now, he was like near the top of the charts in the vertical leap. He was one of the fastest dudes in the sprint in the draft. They know he's one of the better defenders in his conference in college basketball in terms of like being a guard defender, and his dad is a coach, and like that's the type, like all of that stuff is like plus for an NBA team, and he's kind of shot up some draft boards, and I think he's a guy that if they do go guard, that might be that's probably the guard they take.
Yeah, listen, if they do take him, that means that Smart smoke is definitely true, because he does. I saw a little bit of it. He does a lot of Marcus Smart type stuff, so they're like, hey, Jared Allen, Marcus Smart, maybe second, first, who knows, and then call it a day. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna do it, but again, that's just me throwing ideas out. But yeah, the draft will be interesting, man. I don't know who they're gonna draft. Obviously, Connect could be there. Like everybody could be there. I don't even know. This draft's so
that's the great thing, is that literally everybody could be there.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. The only people that's probably not gonna be there is like Sar. Klingon's probably not gonna be there. But like, I mean, any of the top 10. I can't
even say Klingon not gonna be there. Honestly,
he could be. I mean, shoot, I've seen Reed Shepherd at 1. I've seen Reed Shepherd at 12. I've seen Klingon at 2. I've seen Klingon at 7. Like, you don't really know who's gonna be there. So that's
only person I can say confidently, like you said, is Sar. That's it. Only person I can say is Sar. He not falling past 2 in my eyes. Outside of that, I don't know what. Listen, I don't know what the hell's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm ready for it because it's gonna be great. But yeah, outside of Sar, I don't know what the hell's gonna happen. Too much smoke. Too much smoke.
But yeah, like I said, we're gonna get more into the draft like the next couple of weeks. Obviously, I think we're gonna have 3 more episodes still before the draft, and then we'll have all that recap and stuff too. I did want to get to the last our last segment for today. We're going back to the WNBA because we gotta talk about these Caitlin Clark narratives, man. Because some of the stuff I know we talked a little bit about this week or last week, but this week I feel like it got to a new level because obviously the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese thing came from college. And we knew that was going to be a big thing the first time they played against each other. And then it's just so happened to be that the Sky have been playing good. I think that just overall, like it was a good matchup. And then you also had the play with Kennedy Carter where she ran up to Caitlin and pushed her over and, basically cussed her out too. I mean, and I agree. Like, it was definitely like a flagrant foul. Should have been a flagrant foul, flagrant one, whatever. And not like, I don't want to say I agree with the foul because I don't. It was a bad foul. She shouldn't have done it. But the reaction to it is different than if it was anybody else. Like, and obviously I know Caitlin, like, she has so many fans. She's such a big name. But it's like the reaction of saying that people are jealous and that's why she ran into her. And I'm like, no, it's like, man, it's basketball. That's what happens. Basketball. Like, and I think that's my thing. And also, because we were talking about before this, Kennedy Carter is known to do stuff like this. Like, we know, like, that's like, it's, I'm not gonna.
Most people don't know. Most people don't know because they're new here to this whole space.
They don't know.
Yeah, she's a little bit. No. Look, I mean, it's all due respect. She's a little bit crazy. Like,
listen,
competitive.
That's what I'm saying. She, in terms of her talent, because I covered a game when I was in school. I covered the Tennessee women's basketball game where Kennedy Carter came into Thompson-Boling Arena.
Yeah, she cold.
And had like 36. Like, she is like that. Cold. She was a number 4 pick. And then she was out of the league for a couple years because of like her attitude and stuff, right? She has had those issues before. Like, she literally wanted to fight Courtney Williams because she didn't think she was getting enough playing time, right? And was like, I'm not coming out after halftime. And literally get back on, I think was like the Sparks, and then they were like, nah, we're not doing that. And she's been out the league for a couple years, so this is really her coming back. And it's like this, like, I'm not gonna say she's on the same level of Draymond and stuff like that, but that, like, getting mad at her for running into somebody, like, not to say you can't get mad at Draymond, but that's like kind of what you would expect. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like, especially because Caitlin, which one thing I do like about Caitlin, when people, like, some people act like she doesn't, but she talks trash too.
Yeah, no, literally, like the play before, literally there was clips of it played before where she was talking to her and running into her, like literally like the possession right before that. So that was what it was for. People didn't see that though. Everybody just saw the hit.
Yeah, people all saw that.
Yeah,
but I do agree. The Fever need an enforcer. They need somebody.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Like, because I think that was the thing that I think a lot of people reacted to more than that was that after that, you didn't see like her teammates, maybe go in and try to, rough somebody up or something. Like, that's why, like, you know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily sure who they would go get to be in, but they need somebody to take on that role. It might not even be going to get somebody. It might just need to be like somebody needs to step up and take on that role that's already on the roster. Whether it's like an Alyssa Smith or somebody like that.
Erica Wheeler?
Yeah, Erica Wheeler. Somebody like that. Not expecting like Kelsey Mitchell or somebody like, that's not really, I'm not expecting like somebody like that to be there. We're talking about like an Erica Wheeler, even an Alyssa Smith, like, because I feel like they got a little bit of that dog in them. Like, they got a little bit, like, you can see it. So if there was somebody on the roster, I'd probably lean towards those two. But I do think they do need an enforcer. And then obviously, and in the game that I didn't get to see the game that happened the day we're recording this, but I did see she got hurt. She didn't, like, Caitlin didn't play well. Aaliyah Boston also got hurt. Hopefully it's not going to be out for too long. But still, like, it's really, like, you can really see it's not a bad thing. If somebody is new to the WNBA, I am so happy that you are watching. But it's like, you got to go back. Like, man, they tried to fight. They literally fought Candace Parker. Like, this is not the first time this happened. Candace Parker was a rookie. They basically had Malice in the Palace WNBA.
Yeah, I retweeted the video earlier. If anybody wants to see it, go to my Twitter. I retweeted it. It was
like, they literally had the WNBA Malice in the Palace when Candace Parker was a rookie, right?
Yeah, like when the Shock was still around in the league.
Yes.
Bill Lambier, the coach on the sidelines, like, yeah.
And you know what Bill Lambier is the coach.
Yeah.
Come on now, this man was a bad boy Piston. Like you knew exactly what was going to happen, man. So like all that kind of stuff, and then even going back to the last couple of years, like Aaliyah Boston did the same thing. Last year, Aaliyah Boston got beat up. You can go back to the past, like people talk about Diana Taurasi talking about or talking bad about Caitlin Clark or whatever. I didn't think she was ever. I didn't think she was talking bad. I thought she was being realistic because she has had to like she's gonna have to adjust to the physicality, like we said last week. But there's literally clips of her, especially like Kelsey Plum came in the league. Kelsey Plum tried to hit her with a move. She just hit her. Like you're not doing that. Like that's how the vets are in the WNBA. Like it's a more physical game. I say it's a more physical game than even the NBA is.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
100%.
we
It's
talking about
more
on Twitter.
physical.
Yeah,
So,
we were talking
like,
about this on Twitter. Yeah,
it
was like, oh no, you go ahead.
No, like I'm saying, it's more physical because I feel like there's more playing through the post and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's not as many cheap fouls usually as there are in like NBA games, like just overall.
Yeah, and that's what was basically said. Shout out to the homie yesterday on Twitter. She was talking about that. Like the league is more physical off the simple fact post play is more prevalent. Like your best players are forwards. Brianna Stewart, Asia Wilson, Alyssa Thomas, like usually your top players are post players. I mean, you got guards in there. Like obviously you got you got Sabrina. You say Ron Howard, Kelsey Plum, Jackie,
Jackie.
Yeah. You say all those players like guards, but the best two players are forwards. So in my opinion, obviously Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart. So the game's just a lot more physical. Yeah, it's always.
I mean, the top 3 in MVP last year were all forwards.
Yeah, forwards. So yeah, it's literally just that. But like you said, it's always going to be more. It's just the W is just more physical. Like the refs don't call as many fouls. Like it happens. Like even one of my friends, Nico, just went to I think the Dream game today, and he's like, they don't call a lot of fouls either. He said on Twitter like it's just a different game. So yeah, like that's part of it. And people don't understand that, but now people understand that. And again, the discourse is just ugly now. Like I said, I know you said you're happy about people watching W, and I am to a certain extent, but some of them, part of me is like, man, maybe we should have kept just a little. Maybe we should have waited a little bit longer at this point.
Nah, man,
we should have waited a little bit longer because people messing this up. Listen, we had a good thing going. We was cool. Discourse was great. We was talking about this all. Last couple of years been great for Hoop Discourse, WNBA discourse. Now it's like NBA Twitter. I mean, we really we made it. That's what it means. We made it, but it's like, dang, like man, now I got to deal with this all year round. I come here, NBA season finna go off. Oh yeah, W season gonna be great. Cool. Now, I mean, it's still gonna be great, but like now, man, Twitter. Oh, now I gotta deal with this now. Which is like I said, pros and cons.
Like I get what you're saying, but I do think in the long run, it's gonna be better because this is how
it's gonna be better. Yeah,
in the long run, it's gonna be better, and that's how it is. With anything that is popular, right? You're gonna have some people that just take stuff to the next level that you're not gonna agree. Like that's how whether it's music, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the WNBA, it doesn't matter what it is. You're gonna have people that have those crazy takes, right? Or whatever it is, or push these certain narratives. Like we know that's how it's gonna be, and I'm not necessarily saying that. Like, obviously, if you are somebody who's never watched the WNBA, I understand how you'd be like, well, they're so physical with her. Like, yeah, they're physical with everybody. That's how it is. Now, do they take it to another level because of? I will agree that she gets guarded, and because of the way she gets guarded, because of how good she is, because she can shoot from 40 feet away from the basket. Mm-hmm. So of course, like she's getting picked up more. She's usually having the more physical defenders guarding her, where like whoever it is, like if it's a Minaj Lady or somebody like that, or somebody who's bigger than she is, but is still quick enough to stay with her, which is something that you don't see a lot in college. There's not as many players that can do that in college as there are in the W. So, right, and she had a tough game when she played the Liberty because they got a lot of players that can guard her, right? And that's just as simple as that, right? So, I don't think that I don't think it's necessarily coming from like some people will say it's a place of jealousy or whatever. I think it is just the normal reaction of this is a rookie coming in. You don't bow down to rookies in any sport. You don't say like this rookie, he's a number one pick. Like, man, like I think we said it last week. Go back and look at what LeBron teammates was saying about LeBron before he came to the Cavs. Talking about, oh well, we already got somebody that plays that position.
Yeah, hope he can fit in.
I hope he can fit into what we're doing. I'm like, bro, y'all got the number 1 pick. What was y'all doing?
Did I have some news for y'all? At that, yeah, he said fit in. He did more than that. Did more than fit in.
Yeah, like, and then going like, oh yeah, he's gonna be a great passer. I don't know if the scoring's gonna come around. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. And I think that's the thing about Caitlin. That's the thing about Caitlin is I think like she is going to be one of the best players in the WNBA. Now, right now, is she, the superstar? Like in terms of her media attention and in terms of the fans she's bringing, yeah, she is a superstar. But it is going to take her some time. And I'm not even saying it's going to take her to the end of the season. It might be after the FIBA break or after the Olympic break, she comes back and she has figured it out. It takes everybody like a different amount of time, but there's a learning curve. And the learning curve for guards, whether it's the NBA or whether it's the WNBA, is always going to be more than it is for forwards. Whether it's like you can look at Angel Reese and Camila Cordosa or somebody like that, or an Alyssa Pili who came in and had some good games, or Kia Jackson, Kim Rick, like all these people have come in and have also had good games. Not to say Caitlin had her games and Caitlin had a 30-piece and like she's done what she's needed to do overall. And I think she's still going to be rookie of the year, all of that. But it's whereas you might look at some of these people and they have an easier role and they're having an easier transition, even if they're not scoring as much, it's a little bit easier for them because they don't have the ball in their hands all the time. And they're not, the ball handler in every pick and roll. And they're not the number 1 scorer and passer, right? You can play more of a role and you got other players around you that are initiating the offense, whether it's an older player, whether you're playing with like a Kia Nurse, right, that is initiating the offense. And then Cameron Brink can be, the post player, pick and roll threat, pick and pop threat. Rakia Jackson can focus on being in the post, hitting her post fadeaway, stuff like that. And whereas Caitlin, like, she coming out, she's number 1 on the scouting report, regardless.
Yeah, or 2 at worst. And I mean, listen, last thing for me, in spite of all this, she's still averaging. I know her percentages are very ugly: 36% from the field, 30 from 3, 5.5 or 5.4 turnovers, but she's still averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. And this is as the first or second option in 11 games with a learning curve.
And I will say, the other thing is, bro, they play every night. I'm looking at they play what? 11, they've already played 11 games. They used to play like 6 games.
Kathy Weiland. For people who don't know who Kathy is, Kathy's the commissioner. Kathy Weiland. She is Weiland for the schedule. I don't know who put the schedule together. I'm gonna say it was her because they played 11. I said it earlier. I said before the pod started. They played 11 games. Every other team's play like 8 or 9 at most. Play like 8 or 9 at 9 at most. They've already played 2 more games than every other team already. And mind you,
back to back.
Back to back. They don't even really happen in W. This new deal. They only used to play like 2 games a week. And sometimes they have a back-to-back, But I think FIBA already had like 2 back-to-backs already. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's wild. That's wild. I got no more words. That's wild. So, yeah, it's crazy. But Caitlin be all right. She'll be fine. Like, again, discourse, man, I hate it. I hate it so much. I thought I was going to have a peaceful summer with W stuff. I'm not. It's not going to be peaceful. Every time I'm going to look on time, I'm going to see a even goofier, foolish tweet, and I'm just going to be like, oh, man, what happened? I'm like, what happened? I'm like, oh, when is it going to end? When is it going to
the game that I love.
Yeah, what happened to the game I love? Yeah, just like Mark Jackson. What happened to the game I love? But yeah, it'll correct itself eventually. But I just got to deal with it for now. But listen, what's that Odell Beckham meme? I'm not having fun anymore. It was cool at first, but I'm not having fun anymore.
We still having fun, man. Don't say that. We still having fun.
We having fun, but I'm but I'm not having as much fun right now. Let me say that. Not having as much fun. That's all
but like I said, it's gonna be like. As it keeps going, and like I said, as she adjusts and she starts to put together, like, because there's going to be a stretch during the season where she puts together 3-4 really good games in a row, and you're going to start to see it really coming around. And I think then you're going to see less of the narratives and stuff that you're seeing right now. But it's almost like, because it's really, I'll explain it like this. This is the last thing, and it will be done, right? Because I think for some of the new people, they like Caitlin was awesome in college, and they were like, okay, she's going to come in the WNBA. She's going to be way better than everybody. She's going to average 30 a game doing all this. And now it's like the reaction of her having a good season for a rookie, but not, shooting 40% from three or whatever, like people were thinking she was going. Like some of the new fans were thinking. It's almost like you're trying to find reasons why, and it's like, okay, well, the refs aren't calling fouls for her. They're being too physical. They're jealous of her. They're trying to hurt her, stuff like that. Which I do not think that's the case at all, right? I think this is just the natural progression we see for young guards coming into the W. Like this, since the W has been a thing, this is how it is. It's tough for guards early on. And that doesn't mean she's not going to be great. Like I said, they call Kelsey Plum a bust. They were calling Kelsey Plum a bust when she was a rookie. Now she a two-time champion. You know what I mean?
Two-time All-Star, one-time All-W. Yeah, something like that.
like you know what I mean? So you got to give people time, and recency bias and all that. And it's a what have you done for me lately? You're supposed to be the greatest ever already. The first game, which that's not the case for any other sport. Like there's no other sport. Like you go to NFL rookie quarterbacks, you could have been the best college quarterback ever. You might not even start. You know what I mean? You might even start as a rookie. And if somebody does have a great year, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, he actually played good. And you look, NBA rookie guards struggle. It's just what happens. If you don't struggle as a rookie guard, you're an outlier. This doesn't happen. So, and that's what I'm gonna leave it at. Is I think, like I'll continue to say, Caitlin's gonna be fine. I think that as the season goes on, we're gonna see less of these narratives. I'm still very excited for all the extra attention that W is getting, and I'm hoping that, like I said last week, is the people that come for Caitlin Clark stay for Asia Wilson, and stay for Breanna Stewart, and stay for Diana Taurasi, and stay for Nafisa Collier or Enrique Gugawale, and I can go on and on and on about all these great players. Ryan Howard, who's having an incredible season. So, and that's my main thing, because I think that the people that came for that, and they're going to continue to see more of that, and that's why I do think it's going to be a good thing in the long run. But as I always say, I appreciate everybody who listened to this week's episode of the Next Gen Podcast here on the Bluff City Media Podcast Network. We will see y'all next week where we have more NBA, WNBA, and Grizzlies news to get to.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Gen Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like and a comment wherever you download your podcasts. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co, where you will find comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports and how you can become an insider. We'll see you back here next time.